Welcome back to the Power and the Glory. Today's scripture is Psalm 71, verse 1. But before I read the scripture, please like, share, and subscribe. It makes a huge difference to the Google algorithm. Thank you to my existing subscribers for your ongoing support. I really do appreciate it. So I'll read the scripture now. In thee, O Lord, do I put my trust. Let me never be put to confusion. So allegedly, this psalm was written by an aging King David. Certainly, this is a prayer from someone in their old age who has been dependent on God for a lifetime. Someone who is now facing adversaries who see him as weaker and more vulnerable than ever before. The psalmist asks for God to act as a steadfast rock and fortress and to give him hope as his strength fades. So let's now look at this scripture in more detail. In thee, Lord, do I put my trust. So the verse establishes God as the ultimate shelter and source of confidence, a fortress, a strong point for him, which is a consistent theme throughout the psalm. Moving on to let me never be put to confusion. So the psalmist is asking not to be brought to shame or disgrace because God didn't answer as hoped. It's a prayer to escape the plans of the wicked and unjust. The prayer is a prayer trusting in God's power to save, which in this instance he hasn't seen yet. Now the psalmist's point is this: if his trust were to prove in vain, it would not only be a personal failure, but would also reflect badly on God's character and faithfulness in the eyes of others, especially his enemies. So his point is this: you've helped me before, help me now, otherwise we're both going to have egg on our face. So some of the major themes are these within the psalm. Lifelong faith. The psalmist declares his trust has been with God throughout his life, from birth to youth to old age, and is a faith bound with the conviction that God's presence has and always will prevent him from suffering disgrace. Now, the context of the psalm is adversity. The verse is the introduction to a psalm that illustrates the presence of real life troubles, persecution, and cruel opponents, and then highlights faith as the solution. Key learnings from the verse are this: God is, of course, the ultimate refuge, a safe refuge and strong fortress during adversity. So if we're all in trouble, let's go to him first for help, and let's not struggle alone. It applies to David at the time and us now. The psalmist's proof throughout the psalm that God has intervened in his life at critical moments is further proof that God is to be trusted to come through with the goods at the right time. It's all about trusting in God because his promises will never fail. And also, God, we must realize, provides strength in our weakness. The psalmist is quick to acknowledge his human weakness and vulnerability and knows that he is targeted because of this by his adversaries. But he rightly places his trust in God to provide him with his strength to defeat his enemies because throughout his life, he has never failed him. So let's now all do the same and look to God during challenging circumstances, because where our power may fail and our strength may decline, we worship a God whose power is limitless and whose commitment and promises will never ever fail us.